So I think that's kind of the best setting. The before is the fuzz. The after is controlling like the bias of the pedal. The switch in the middle, it just that's like a low mid when you flip it up. Um, and when you flip it down, it's just kind of like at its regular, or that they want to make it like it cuts it, but it's just like a tone switch. The high cut, it just allows you to dial in or dial back some of the highs, depending on how crazy you go with it. And then the output. The output is loud. There is a lot of headroom on this. So I think like it, yeah, like as you're hearing, because when you turn the fuzz up, it just doesn't. I don't know. Like, to me, this is their version of like that '60s Maestro fuzz, and they like did their own thing with it. So it's like if you're after that Maestro Fuzz Face, not Fuzz Face, Fuzz Factory, Maestro Fuzz Factory, that sort of thing. Fuzz Face is good, but it's a little bit of its own thing. This like is, but it's like trying to be its own thing. If you like Spitty, this thing gets Spitty as hell. I'm not too big on the Spitty. I'll show you the other set, but this kind of lives right there in that '60s rock and roll, like that sort of. Like that sort of thing. But I mean, because otherwise it's just like the. It's here. I'll show you. It's just, I don't know. I mean, you're cranking up an amp, and then maybe you're just using that as your lead characteristic, or you're blending it in there, and you back some of the fuzz. I don't. It just it doesn't sit well with me. Now I have the Fuzz Factory, and upon just realizing the little nuance of like the '60s sort of fuzz, like Beatles, Rolling Stones sort of thing, like when they were first messing with the Maestro fuzz, that type of deal. I went, oh, and so then I realized that this is kind of going after that second rendition. If you look up, there's a Maestro that has a might not be saying that word right, by the way, but you know what I mean. There's a bias knob on it, and I think even that one, I'm sure, probably is like more real. Just the DoD, I think, did their own thing with it, which I applaud them for, but it doesn't sit well with me like at all. So I mean, if you're looking at getting this, you're just trying to do like a regular. It's either you're after Spitty or you just want to set it on like the noon setting that I have, which is nice. And I'm sure if you crank an amp up, you might get like a nice, you could pull that sort of '60s rock and roll. But honestly, the Fuzz Factory was a little more solid on that. Electro Harmonix is Satisfaction. If you look, they have the regular one. They came out with the second one that does this, and that I think a little more. It still has its Electro Harmonix thing about it, but it closerly does that thing. But at the end of the day, now that I see, I was thinking that Maestro brand was like this, like this crummy, like, you know what I mean, that sort of thing. I wasn't realizing how much of an effect it had on things. So I started reading and I went, oh no, this is this is cool. So like when I saw that they brought it back and I was listening to what samples I heard, I'm like that. So I'm gonna get my hands on that and do a review on that at some point. I mean, but it's like the Fuzz Factor. It's nice because like you can kind of set it and mess with like the gate and the compression and stuff, and then when you mess with the bias on there, that more so changes the wave a little bit. So I've turned it to like 2-3 spots once I've like kind of got it set and been like, oh, okay, oh, I could go here or here. Whereas this one, it's just this. It's just that noon setting. And, because they have the Carcosa and the Dahali and, that whole switch. And you're like, what's happening here? There's a before and an after, and I don't know what's happening before or after. Well, that's what's happening. It's just, so they're going after the '60s fuzz. If you're after that sort of thing and you want it real spitty, well, this is the spitty one. You want to try to back it off. So you can even hear how that when that was turned up, it was like gating it more. I'd rather just have control of the gate and the compression myself. But that horn sort of sound, if you can get it without it being like kajumbled, that's real nice, So if you're just kind of after this. I mean, that's cool. I had the mic off, sorry. But yeah, I hope this helps. I had the blue light covered with tape because it was making the camera all freaking weird. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope it helps.